Hello, my name is Handirubvi Herring. I'm originally from Zimbabwe, but I've been raised between Washington, D.C. and Maryland for many, many years. So I'm embedded within this culture. And about 2 months ago, I applied for the Anacostia Mural Arts Festival. They were seeking 105 artists, well, actually 100 artists, but then 105 were accepted, and I was one of them. And very, very excited. It was my first mural. So when I had this opportunity, they assigned me to do Southeast iconography. And I wanted to do something or highlight something in our neighborhood that hasn't been honored before. So I thought, what a wonderful way to find something that has been in our community for a very long time, however, hasn't been honored, and this is my way of saying thank you. So I was researching. I know that there's Frederick Douglass, there's Marvin Gaye, and I remembered that there was an article that was done to kind of promote my art exhibition, and that was through the Washington Informer. And besides having an article written about my exhibition, I had no clue the history behind Washington Informer. So I wanted to investigate a little bit more because I would drive by the Washington Informer. I used to live in Southeast. And when I went down a rabbit hole of Washington Informer, I found a wonderful documentary on PBS that was highlighting the Informer. And my artwork is narrative based, and so I immediately felt a connection with this as my iconography. And I also remembered in the documentary how much the purpose of it was to uplift the community. Because anytime someone who's not from Southeast hears about Southeast, it always stems to something that's negative. But the mission of the Washington Informant is to uplift our people, but also it's an opportunity for us to control a narrative that is showing positivity. And I have what I call the historical landmark, which is the Washington Informer office. And so I wanted this in the piece because that's where all the action happened, and most of the people that are the staff of the Washington Informer, or where the articles are most likely written, where the editing happens, where the photography, it all happens in this space. So I wanted to start there. But when I was watching the documentary, I did see a few images of the founder. I just wanted to highlight the story of the Rolarks. And in the back we have the Washington, D.C. flag and the Washington Informer, the paper. And so I chose Control the Narrative for the bridge. While I was doing more research, the Rolarks, Mr. Neek's Rolarks children have this paper called The Bridge, and so I didn't want to have too many newspapers represented. So one of the things that I saw on the bridge, it said control the narrative, save our city. So I wanted to kind of put that there and then have the Frederick Douglass Bridge as an honor for the bridge. And then we have the cherry blossoms that are native to, that are the staple of DC, what we know DC to be. But I also didn't know that the monarch butterfly is native to DC. So I wanted to represent this. And then we have this tree that's also native to DC, which is a scarlet oak. So I just had that as the leaves blowing in. And blue is a color that I know my father is part Ghanaian, and his culture stems from Ghana. So I know blue and white are representations for just wealth and abundance as family. So I wanted to highlight that as the color for the sky. Yes. And then we have Miss Rolark here. I saw another beautiful picture that I wanted to just show and tie. And I know that part of the thing that I was hearing, or what I was able to kind of take from the story, is that everything that is done is for our culture and to uplift our culture. So that's why I have the Pan-African flag as a red carpet. And so I have Miss Rolark and her two sons here. sitting on the big chair, the iconic big chair. Funny story, when I was doing the research about the big chair, I didn't know that for about 40 to 42 days there was a woman living on the big chair. So yes, I think also it's kind of like a twist between a seat at a table. We don't always have to kind of like pick the seat at the table, we can create our own table. So that's why I have them sitting at the chair, and the stories that are created by the Washington Informer. So my educational background, I went to school for fine art at the Corcoran College of Art and Design and have my master's in arts education. So during the day, I'm an art teacher. I work at a Chinese school called Washington Yu Ying. However, for my own professional practice, I've always wanted to be a muralist. So part of the reason why I applied to Anacostia Mural Fest is that I knew that I wanted to have a way to start building my portfolio as a professional muralist. And even though I have a fence, you know, I'm hoping that my dream comes true one day, that I can, you know, beautify somebody's wall in the future. If anyone wants to reach me, my website is www.54plusfineart.com, 54plusfineart.com. And my Instagram is Handirubvi, Handyrubvi.